Good morning, diamonds of the earth. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. Today's topic of conversation is, am I my brother's keeper? Or be careful with who you're friends with. Or just peer pressure is such a horrible, horrible situation to experience. I was watching this video. Pretty much a bunch of streamers were going to this event that was hosted by Ludwig. And in this event, if you guys saw the most recent video that I did, then I was giving a very broad description of everything, mainly because I was so upset, but I didn't want to say too much at the time before I was able to calm down because I was very upset. Pretty much, Ludwig hosted this event. I think it was called Burial Cart, and pretty much the concept of it, I think, is you're playing Mario Kart, and then while you're playing, you're drinking beer. Pretty standard. And as he was hosting, he invited his friend Mango to this event. While the event is going on, you see contents of the video where Ludwig identifies Mango as a alcoholic. When I watched some of the video, alarm bells were going off in my head because I'm like, okay, if you know he's alcoholic, why is he there? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you invite him if he's alcoholic? That's not a really good host, one. And then two, that's not a really good friend if you know someone who has an issue and you're exploiting that by bringing them to this. But, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I think Valkyrie, when she heard him going on about how much of an alcoholic Mango was, Valkyrie brought up a very good point of, if they're not pretty much provoking or instigating, or I can't remember the exact word she said, but aren't they pretty much exploiting the situation? Aren't they pretty much making the situation worse by having him here with all this alcohol? Later on in the clips that I saw, there are clips where Ludwig will get a breathalyzer and he would pretty much go into the audience or go into the main square part of the building, and he would make the grand announcement that Mango's alcohol level was at a point something. If you guys know anything about alcohol levels, I had to look it up. The baseline for it that you can't go over is a 0.08, I think. At least in Quebec, it's a 0.08. But then when it comes down to very dangerous levels, like alcohol poisoning, the highest, that number is a 0.4. So we have 0.08, which is the bottom threshold, and then 0.4 is the top threshold. You should not be anywhere near. And Ludwig was making announcements throughout the course of the event that Mango's blood alcohol level was at I think initially the video I saw, it was at a 0.25 or 0.24, which is 3 times more than the base. And then you had the second time where he said it was at a 0.32, 0.34, something around that line. So you see that it was increasing. Ultimately, the culmination of this, the bomb exploding, if you will, for the situation, is that Mango ended up harassing a few women. And as a result, when he woke up the next morning, he realized that he had been going around and harassing people. Don't know if he remembers the event, if it was just that he saw videos or whatever, but he made public apology about it. And then he got banned from everything pretty much. So Twitch banned him, and a few other organizations that he was associated with, they banned him as well. But the thing that got me mostly irritated was that Ludwig also banned him from future streaming events, and pretty much trying to say oh, well, I'm taking the responsibility that he's taking is that he's gonna restrict him from going to any future events because he was harassing people. Now, the main issue I have is not Mango. Mango's fine because Mango, he already acknowledged that he needs to go to rehab, and he made that very evident within the public announcement that he made, and all that's well and dandy, right? The main issue I have is that Ludwig is pretty much seemingly evading responsibility, both as a friend, but more importantly as a host. You hosted this event. You hosted this event that involved alcohol and a bunch of other people that were there. You hosted this. You knew that there was a person that you were inviting that had an alcohol issue, and you still invited them to this event and pretty much left him to his own devices while celebrating that he was drinking more than he should have been. I'm not saying that he needed to baby or he needed to overshadow him or whatever the case may be. I'm saying that he shouldn't have invited him, period. He knew he had an alcohol issue. He knew he was an alcoholic. He acknowledged that he was an alcoholic in the video. Everything could have been avoided if you didn't invite him. But I feel like there's not a lot of people that are actually talking about the fact that he has a lot more involvement in the situation because he's the reason why the guy was there in the first place. Yes, Mango, he shouldn't have drunken as much. He should have acknowledged that he was alcoholic before. He probably, when you have a problem, typically you're not going to acknowledge it. So that's besides the point. But with Ludwig, he knew. You knew he was alcoholic and you still invited him to this event. You could have easily told him no because you didn't want anything to be an issue. Yeah, sure. Maybe it could have been a problem. Maybe he would have had a lot of anger towards you because of it. But at the end of the day, you could have avoided this entire situation. But now it brings to question how much you were actually looking out for this friend, quote unquote, or if you were just simply trying to exploit him for you to get more clips. Because at the end of the day, that's pretty much what it appears. It appears as though you were using this man's vulnerability as a means of you getting more money from the situation. You're using his vulnerability, it appears, so that you can get more views from the situation or you can get more attention from the situation. That's what it looks like. Not saying that's what you did, but that's what it appears as though that's what you were doing. It's a bad situation, and I don't think enough people are calling the host's name specifically in connection with the situation and addressing the fact that he knew the man had an alcohol issue and he still invited him. Because as a host, it's a horrible, that's like, you shouldn't have done that at all. And I don't even think that could, I don't know if that would be considered a mistake or what, because I don't know anything about Ludwig. I don't know if he's done multiple events. I know I've heard that there was an additional situation that was like this before with someone named Minx, I think, where she ultimately ended up getting deported from the situation and she had a consumption issue of some type that this group of people that associate with Ludwig were involved in. So not saying it's this specific group for the situation, but Ludwig is at the center of it for that last situation too. And I was hearing that in passing while I was looking at all of this. So it doesn't look good. Two times is a habit. So if you have this happening multiple times around you, you have to take a look in the mirror at this point. I don't know. Maybe I'm just the outside person looking into the situation. I don't know nothing. I'm just going based off of what I've seen and addressing the things I've seen. I haven't seen really anybody else except I think now Tectone has spoken about it, but that's kind of expected from him because, you know, he's the type of person to do it. Amazon and Gold is most likely going to talk about it, and other people, more Pegasus and all that stuff. They're probably going to talk about it, but yeah, either way, this is like a very disheartening situation. If you guys have any thoughts, comments, I don't know, if you guys have any more information, maybe I don't know the full story and you guys want to share, please consider sharing down below. But yeah, this is a very sad situation to be a part of, and I would say definitely the question will still remain, am I my brother's keeper? Or please just make sure that you guys are careful with who you keep around, because the people that say they're your friends, they're not always going to be your friend. A lot of them are enemies in disguise, wolves in sheep's clothing, if you will. But yeah.